Daily Broadside, day 482. Last night I went to my parents' house for the evening, and I went out last night to go somewhere, and I'm riding with my mom. She's driving. I'm in the passenger seat, and every morning she goes out at like a 6 a.m. walk and walks the dog like this big, like 2-mile loop or whatever. And she goes the same way, big loop around the neighborhood every time, right? And so we can pull out of the driveway, we go around the corner, and we're hanging our first left, and she points to a house. She's like, remind me to stop and pick up that bag. And I'm like, what bag? She's like, that plastic bag at the end of their sidewalk out by the curb. And I'm like, why would we stop and pick up that bag? And she's like, well, it's filled with, it has dog crap in it. And I'm like, again, I implore you, why would we stop and pick that up? She's like, well, the other day we got caught in the rain, and yesterday, and I had to make it. I couldn't make it back home. I usually like leave it there if the dog has to crap, and then I pick it up on the second lap that I make. And I'm like, I said, guess what? I'm not going to remind you to do. And oddly enough, we went by later that afternoon, and when we got back, whatever we were doing, and someone had picked it up. This is a strange country we live in, I gotta tell you. You want to make somebody's world like a living hell? You do? That's kind of weird of you. But if you do, I'm gonna give you a hint. It's a combination of motor oil glitter, purple primer, and anti-seize. You'll want to just end yourself. Like, you'll never get any of that clean. You know what I mean? It's just funny. I think that the one thing that if my maternal grandfather was still alive, he'd be like 98, 100 years old, whatever by now, I think. And he's obviously dead now. But I think one of the things that I think I would have liked to have done was just gotten sloppy, shitty drunk with him. He had a tattoo on his arm that looked like it had been done by a blind man on like his upper, mid bicep. And it was a girl's initials that he got in the military when he was drunk. Or at least that's the story he told. And I'm hoping he got it when he was drunk, because it was not good work. But he had it his whole life. He's actually the first person I ever knew that had a tattoo. So, I raised him several times on that. I don't think he was impressed when I started getting tattoos, because I don't think he really relished the fact that he had one that he got on one drunken night. But I'm convinced that anybody that would get a tattoo while they're lit, is somebody I need to drink with, you know what I mean? And I'll never get to drink with that dude unless there's some afterlife whereby you can, get sloshed with people that, have also died. That'd be kind of cool. You imagine, like, if there's no hangovers, in the afterlife, whatever the afterlife is to you, it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that you can just drink, just drink like a madman, like a drunk fish, and nothing really happens to you the next day, which I don't really get hangovers anyway if I drink a lot, which isn't that often anyway, but blessed with good genes in that respect. But it's also about being hydrated. There are things you can do to mitigate the effects of alcohol to some extent. But yeah, long story short, I think he and I should have just gotten trashed one night. Whether my grandmother was there to see it or not, whether she would have been embarrassed or not, we should have just done it. And we should have gotten tattoos. We should have gotten tattoos we'd have given to each other, just stick and poke, you know what I mean? I think you hear me knocking. And I'm bringing the flavored bacon, you know what I'm saying? In this country, at one point, there was a large contingent of the populace, maybe not large, but there was a contingent of the populace that purchased, what in the hell kind of trailer is that? It looks like a 79 Datsun pickup bed that they have turned into a trailer. People crazy. There was a contingent of the populace that would routinely buy colored toilet paper. And I had forgotten all about colored toilet paper until someone brought it up today. And I ask you, if you were old enough to have ever bought that stuff, and I don't think they make it anymore. I actually Googled it, and it's because it cost more. Doctors started warning against the dyes against your skin, which that seems a little suspect, I don't know. But more to the point, why did people do that? Was it a decorative thing? A decorative thing? Like to, if you had like a pastel, or maybe one of those like 60s bathrooms that had like a teal toilet and sink, and so you bought some teal toilet paper to go. Was it that? Was it like a feng shui type of thing? Or was it just to be different? Or maybe you enjoyed the dyes on your skin, I don't know. But it's been a while, quite a while, I imagine, that since that's come around, and maybe we should bring that back. Maybe people would be interested. Man, there's a huge also contingent of this populace that we have today that has no idea that the fact that in the 80s and maybe even to the early 90s, people wiped their ass with pink and teal and all that. I think brown toilet paper would be nice. That's not really my idea, but I stole it from somebody. But anyway, I think the last thing I'll say is that it seems to me that the Biden presidency is basically just a Biden tour. He's got like a bunch of handlers that just take him on a tour of the country and the planet, and he does nothing while he's there. He's just gonna, all right, come over here and look at this. Oh, that's great. And shake some hands and sniff some babies. That weirdo. That is weird, man. Like, it gets to a point where like we need to go to a point where like, I'm not all right with this, okay? It's just beyond weird. It's gotten just downright weird as hell is what it is. But he doesn't really get anything accomplished. He just goes on tours and speaks nonsense all over the country and all over this globe. And I implore you to tell me one thing that he's done on all these mission trips that he goes on that impacts you, Joe Q citizen, in the least. Let me know. Let me know. I'm waiting to hear. I can't wait to hear because I've not felt any of it in my life. Giddy.